Welcome to another Damage Control for Darlings, trying to do the right thing while dialing in dingers on a dime. Uncle Gary still can't read. Episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Grimm.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Who's joining us today?
Joining us this week in the Days Grimm studio is Scott Conrad, author of Damaged But Doable. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Such a killer intro.
Yeah,
crush that. I was waiting for you to stumble and us to have to re-record. Fucking dude, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So,
golfer clap. Gold star for Tommy.
Shout out to Tom. Hey, I'm gonna grab a beer, but before I do that, real quick, Scott, you're doing okay today?
Golden.
Doing all right. You want to give the people a quick little elevator pitch of who is Scott Conrad?
I'm still trying to figure that out myself. No, I'm a published author, sports journalist, retired volleyball coach, a Leo, and I'm here in Evansville for a short time, but a great time.
that's a great little synopsis there.
Did you say you're a Leo?
Yes,
Dude.
August 1st.
I'm a Virgo. I'm at the end of August.
That explains a lot. I don't even know what that means.
I was born in March 30th. I don't know what that means. I think I'm Aries. I don't know what that means either.
Arian?
I mean, you go to war. You were in the army. That makes sense.
I think so. Sorry, I'm doing
It's all the way maxed out, dog.
dude, I don't know why I can't hear good. I think,
It's called war.
I think I
And tinnitus.
I got tinnitus, dude.
Tendinitis.
God bless you.
What have you been doing today? You been sweating ass out playing some softball?
Yeah, between softball and 2 trips on the Mets bus. That's a lot of perspiration.
Fucking, it was 92 degrees today. How did you not die?
I don't know. I came close. I prayed to Bob Barker. I was like, please, the price is right. Like, my dog is spayed and neutered. Let me live.
Dude, it's so funny fact for the listener or the viewers. We actually recorded this podcast like 2 weeks ago. No, 3 weeks ago. Right?
It's been a while.
About 2 weeks.
Was it two-ish, 3-ish weeks ago? And in my stupor of not knowing anything about technology, I was like freeing up space on my MacBook and like cleaning out all my Logic files and shit. And I fucking deleted our podcast.
It's okay. According to the reviews on Yelp, I'm better on the second time. So it's
So I guess
crossed.
For catching our listener up, this is your second book.
Yes.
Your first book title was?
Surviving from Ankle Deep, Surviving Child Sexual Abuse.
It's a tough one.
11 years ago. Yeah.
This is gonna get heavy, folks. There's really no good way to put it.
Buyer beware.
Yeah, man, and we're not gonna like throw around the R word or anything. It's not gonna get that crazy. But you had some pretty serious shit.
Yes.
Go down.
No.
And we're gonna cover a lot of that today. With as much detail as you want to give or as little detail as you want to give. I want to be very clear about that. But just know that someone listening or watching this might be going through a similar
Absolutely.
and that's why we do that.
That was the motivation behind the book. I know that I'm not alone on the matter, so there's strength in numbers, and it actually gives me the courage to speak out about it in full detail.
And it
100%.
might encourage other people to speak out about it or whatever, which is therapy.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing, dude, is when, and I don't know because I don't pretend to know, but what you hear about all the time with these people that have been sexually assaulted, and speaking up is half the fucking none of them they don't.
The majority of cases don't even get reported.
You're just broken.
Including mine.
You're broken. Yes. I assume, but again, I don't pretend to know. So
Right.
but yeah, speaking out is, God, dude, that's the game changer. And we're going to get into that a little bit. Before we get into that,
You remember the death of the week?
I do.
Yeah.
I recall such.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and spin it. Oh, you're going to get to hear the music too. Tommy.
The death of the week.
This week's death of the week. Brought to you by abcnews.go.com. Here we go. This is the same exact death of the week, I think. Good on you, brother. Good on you. You are a saucy little kitten. Boy struck in this. Okay, so this article was written May 21st, 2002. Again, this is abcnews.go.com. Boy struck in chest with baseball dies. Pretty grim. Here we go. May 22, 7-year-old the second was playing baseball in his own front yard in Marietta, Georgia, when a baseball struck him in the chest at the wrong moment, killing him. The ball hit in the area right above his heart at exactly the right millisecond to cause a fatal abnormal heart rhythm and trigger cardiac arrest. The injury is rare, but not unheard of. Doctors see as many as 24 cases like each year in which the victim has a healthy heart. Going on, they say the batted ball caused to have what's medically known as a commodio cordis syndrome that results from a blunt impact to the chest, which leads to cardiac arrest. Some commodio cordis deaths have been, I'm really struggling with that, but commodio cordis is, I think, the right way to say it. Deaths have been caused by a blow from a hollow plastic bat, but the most common cause is from being struck by a ball or puck during organized sports. And again, this was May 22nd, 2002, I believe. Holy dog dick. There's a lot to unpack here. First off, let's start with what a fucking name. Is that guy still running for president? Fuck.
Yeah, Ralph Nader.
That dude's been crushing it. He's been running for president for like 60 years.
He's old now. I don't think he's running for anything. It might be briskly walking. But...
He's in a wheelchair for sure.
Oh, yeah, he's rolling up to that.
He's got that FDR.
He stands for nothing.
He ain't kneeling for shit, dude. But no, okay, so what a name. It's always rough when we have a death of the week and it involves a child. So I try to...
But I picked this one because you play softball stuff.
Yeah.
So be careful for those balls headed at your chest.
Now, if I remember correctly in our initial interview, which deleted...
And as a semi-practicing Christian, I'm obligated to forgive you.
What a fucking idiot, dude. But if I recall, when we were speaking about this the first time, I mentioned that homeboy from the Buffalo Bills, whom you had not known about.
Right, you and Scott knew about this.
Yeah, and homeboy's name
still
was
always butcher
number
the first
3,
name, but it's
Damar Hamlin.
Damar, there we go.
Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, 24 years old at the time, I believe, too.
So, and then that's when I learned a lot about, and I don't know if he experienced a cardio or Damar Hamlin. Look up his diagnosis. What was it that he actually had? We don't want the clip. The clip was brutal.
What is the real reason for his collapse?
Yeah. And you can play some sound, and I'll just edit it out if you need to play a video. But yeah, okay, so now we're looking at fox19.com. This is out of Buffalo. Or no, I'm sorry, Cincinnati. And then it says January 2nd, 2023, the Bengals were playing the Bills at the Paycor Stadium. Damar Hamlin was hit, got up, then collapsed. We later learned he suffered from cardiac arrest. And they don't get into great detail of what it was.
He woke up and asked who won the game.
Champ. What a fucking champ. The thing is, and I think I brought this up when we were talking about it too, he's kind of a shitty football player. He's kind of like not that good.
I'm not too familiar
on
with
the professional
his
level.
stats.
Because like he was on the bench forever.
Yeah,
he was on the bench. It was a freak occurrence that he was even on the field.
Yeah, he's not one of those every down players. That's for sure.
He's a very niche, like 3rd and 3, like, and they're showing this, so we need the flats, and this guy's tired, so now go play the flat. But like it was a freak occurrence, but they described it the same way. Like it was just his heart was in a certain electrical state, like in rhythm, and he got hit at the right moment in that rhythm where it just freaked his heart out. Yeah. And it's
crazy. I had a
stops.
Spontaneous pneumothorax, and then when I recovered, like Tony Romo or something like that had a spontaneous pneumothorax, like on the field or whatever.
Did he really?
Yeah.
fucking wild. But yeah, dude, the human body is. And then one more mention on that death of the week before we put a bow on this fucker. What was his last name?
It was the second, so that means there was a repeat offense in that family.
That's what I'm saying. He's a second, dude. You made that poor name choice twice?
Yeah.
Marietta, Georgia is not exactly known for good decisions. Let's just throw it out there.
So Scott,
Shout out to ATL.
ATL. All right.
Come to my book.
let's kind of wind back. Let's go to like, you moved around a lot growing up.
Childhood, dude. What was it like? Here we go.
My dad was always employed, but like he was like the corporate Al Bundy. Like he was always in shoe retail.
Serial killer?
No, like Al Bundy, not Ted Bundy. Like from Married with Children.
Oh, the TV
the
show.
shoe salesman, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean that would be cooler. I wouldn't complain about like being in a station wagon and avoiding the police.
dad was a serial killer.
Right? I mean, my dad sliced some Kellogg's and Frosted Flakes, but that's not the only cereals he kills.
Slice and price.
That's fatty.
Dude, I'm going to start calling you fucking Tom if you do any more fucking wordplay, I swear to God. No, but what was it like? So your dad, he's kind of he's just a jack of all trades kind of fella?
Jack's one of the words, but no. I moved my first time like 6 months old. So on a plane from Chicago area to New York. Yeah. He worked for a company called Kinney Shoes, and it brought us from Chicago to downtown New York, where he worked at.
Yeah.
So we all the way around like Philadelphia. I trust you guys, New Jersey for a year. Yeah. So yeah, not really a year.
At least you were young there, right?
Right. Like I was able to tune that part out.
Which was worse, Chirac or New Jersey?
Oh, I love Chicago. And this was Cherry Hill. And this was like before Jersey Shore and Real Housewives of New Jersey. So like it wasn't even that cool.
Dude, how disgusting is Jersey Shore? You don't buy that shit, do you? Do you subscribe to that? Do you watch that shit?
Prior to 96, it was a blast.
No, I'm talking about like the show.
Oh, the
Jersey
show?
Shore. My wife eats that shit up, and I fucking hate it.
I
fucking
when your main
hate it.
character's name is Snooky, you have a chance to like intrigue my interest.
Dude, I heard
So you're in on it. You're
well,
buying.
between
You're buying their.
Snooky, the situation, and there's someone named Sweetheart, and then I just know this chick named Angelina had like trash bags for luggage. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, it's kind of my childhood.
It lasted a lot longer than I thought it was.
Still going on.
I mean, people said the same thing about me, so I mean, it's only fitting.
He's still around.
We have a connection.
So what was it like? When did you first like get your taste for like the love of writing?
My Christmas list to Santa. No, I'm totally kidding.
I was seriously about to have a follow up. Like, what year? How old were you? No, I thought it was a real answer.
92. I mean, the first Bush was in office. I started writing for like the high school or like even my middle school newspaper. It was actually a reason to like not go home right away because I just didn't like being at home. And it gave me like an outlet just to even outside of sports, just to find myself. Being able to meet people, interview them, get quotes, learn stories.
Yeah.
I love learning and I love meeting people. Like as much as I could talk about myself all day, I'm more intrigued about asking questions about what got you to where you're at, what advice do you have, what worked for you, what didn't work for you. And I rolled that into high school, writing for that paper at Ball State Daily News. And then even in my adult life, writing for City County Observer locally, Tampa Bay Times, mysportsvote.com, which is now deceased, RIP, and then now Fansided.
Nice. And don't be afraid to bring that mic in. Just
And
a
you
little bit
also
more.
just recently got in with a local group.
Yes. The Midwest Hooligans are one of the teams in the Gateway Division for the United Premier Soccer League.
Explain that. What's the Gateway Division?
It's just the name of the division locally that the 6 teams, like mostly St. Louis-based, Evansville's team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And Austin Bruder, one of the goalies for the Midwest Hooligans, reached out to me and said, hey, this might be a great opportunity. And I reached out. I don't remember the guy's last name, but it's Chris. A lot of Chris's in my life. And he and I like talked about what it would entail. So I get to do a lot of profile pieces, interview and write. I love soccer.
And that's another thing I wanted to touch on that we maybe not or haven't mentioned yet, other than like you play softball still, but like you played sports all the way through growing up.
If there was a competitive like tetherball or thumb war league, I'd be in it.
We talked about Foursquare last time and how
Foursquare
Brian's
is
never played it.
amazing.
And I never played it. I still.
You're missing out.
Yeah. 2 weeks later, I've still not played Foursquare.
You're a square for not playing Foursquare.
I see what you did there, Tom. Fucking shit wordplay. I'm so over this. I also swear a lot. So anybody that reads his book, is there a lot of swearing in your book?
No, not really.
There's not. Okay, so his book's a lot cleaner than I am. I'll put it that way. So apologies in advance. Being military, I just swear a lot. It's natural. I don't know why. But yeah, we did kind of blast past your childhood. So like staying in the school range area of your timeline, like, so you're playing a lot of sports. You're getting into writing in middle school for the paper. It was
Glen Westlake Middle School in Lombard, Illinois, and then moved to Naperville my spring break of 8th grade. And I went to Neuqua Valley, which is in Naperville, and it's the biggest high school in Illinois. So we're talking class size of 1,281 kids.
Holy,
I moved around a lot through my school years or whatever. Was it weird to go from one school writing in their paper and then transitioning to like a whole nother school and their stuff?
Luckily for middle school and high school, I never, like, other than the 8th grade, I didn't move around. All of it was elementary school. Like I went to, and then the kindergarten, and then first grade was somewhere different, preschool was somewhere different. So a lot of the moving around happened in the suburbs of Philadelphia because I'm the oldest, but going from Chicago in 96, and then went to Ball State. We ended up moving to Indiana as a family because my dad was unemployed. Montgomery Ward's shut down. I mean, my dad's resume looks like a morgue inventory. Like all the companies he's worked for are like 86.
Damn, dude. So you spent a lot of your formidable years in Philly.
Early childhood, yes. So from 86 and 96.
You're not a Phillies fan, are you?
I mean, that's...
You can just tell me.
I do. I like the Phillies.
They're a fucking mascot. This fucking guy.
The Flyers?
Can you? No. Pull up the Philly
the Fanatic. It's like this green fuzzy thing.
Pull up this fucking Joker, dude.
It's like Oscar the Grouch's uncle that's not allowed at Thanksgiving.
You know what I have an issue with Philadelphia? Is they're so goddamn violent.
Oh yeah, they threw batteries at a baseball game at JD Drew when they played the Cardinals.
Fanatic. Yeah,
that guy.
Fanatic. Yeah. He just looks like a douche. And he has this little thing.
Dabbing up.
Yeah, he has this little thing. Yeah, he's dabbing up. He's got this little thing that pops out of his mouth. So he'll like taunt people, and he'll like go up to people in the stands and like blow his little thing out, and it hits him in the face.
Philly fans are the most ruthless.
I mean, they practically burned the city down when they won the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Did you see?
I'm a Patriots fan. That's really tough. And like Justin Timberlake was the halftime show. I don't want to talk about it.
You got some sore feelings.
That's the titties during the halftime, right?
No, that was a Super Bowl performance with Janet.
Timberlake was there for that
right.
one.
Yeah,
he whipped the titty out. He whipped the titty out. You were at the Super Bowl?
No, I was watching.
You saw Miss Jackson live. Good for you.
I wish I saw that live.
What a fucking queen, dude! I would make her the most. Dude, she's such a.
I mean, these days I'll settle for LaToya. I don't even care.
But anyways, so
I want to touch on this first book process of like, when did you start writing your first book?
When I started writing From Ankle Deep, Surviving Child Sexual Abuse, I actually took my therapy notes and made it into a book.
How many years of therapy do you think you took the notes from?
Oh, bless your heart, you said years. It was like 5 months. But when I moved from here to LA, I
didn't know you went to LA.
Yes.
City of Angels.
Yes. I moved in the summer of 2011.
I know a guy that he will only call LA Los Angeles. I know a guy like that.
Really?
You know anybody that says Los Angeles?
Not willingly.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
He grew up in Missouri. He's one of those people.
Oh, yeah.
He grew up in Missouri.
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
My therapist and I are trying to work on not judging people, so I digress.
Let's leave it there. Dog ear.
I love LA. I moved out there when I coached volleyball at Metro. I moved around even in my adulthood because you practice what you learn as a kid. One of the guys that I worked with, his name is Trent Martin. He was friends with a guy that worked for Lightning Bolt USA. They do a lot of the pro surfer boards and shorts. It's a whole clothing line.
Yeah,
you see him a lot at Ron John's. I ended up doing like a internship with them in Venice Beach, and I do like their accounts payable, help with their lookbook, and the fashion merchandising. And I went out there, and it was just a 3-day vacation. When I came back, I was working at Red Robin at the time, and they were like, "Oh, how was your vacation?" I was like, "I signed a lease. I'm moving in 3 weeks."
Can we pump the brakes here too? Fucking Red Robin, dude.
Yum.
Right.
Bro, what are they doing? Because I will murder somebody for a stack of their onion rings. Bro.
They have like Johann Gutenberg the burgers. Like, it's like a printing press that comes out. It's so unique.
Oh, their food is so good.
And for your history buffs, yes, that's who invented the printing press.
Dude, okay, I'm kind of lost.
So you're in
timeline.
LA and you start. That's when you start typing your first book.
Yes, I start writing the first book,
Which is titled again?
It's from Ankle Deep, because the whole expression was I never went full blown in anything. I told a couple friends in college. I told 3 friends in high school. I went basically 16 years without even telling my parents what happened. And my dad's the one that picked me up afterwards, having no clue that, unfortunately, on my 11th birthday in 1996, I was held against my will by my karate instructor, tied down to a chair, force-fed liquor, and I was molested that day. Yeah.
Holy fuck, dude. Okay.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Yes.
How old's homeboy? How old's the guy? Is he like an old dude?
No, he was mid-20s.
If I'm poking and prying,
please
stop me.
No, there's nothing off limits about it, because
But
I wrote technically now 2 books about it. So
But you got part of yourself back by writing that book, you think?
absolutely, like, just having those conversations and saying it out loud, that yes, I was a victim or survivor of child sexual abuse. And that was the hardest part during those early years of sharing it and going to therapy, was I didn't want to stay a victim. I wanted to get to the point where I felt like I was a survivor. And I think that's the biggest difference between the first book and my second book, where the first book was, woe is me. Like, I'm struggling, and it was probably too early to write it. It was like, oh, now I'm announcing it. I'm sharing it. Let's put these journal notes. I should have probably waited on it and gone through the motions more, but I'm glad. I don't regret doing it, but looking at how strong I feel about the second one, where I'm not only talking about that incident, and I'm talking about other forms of abuse and how I've risen above. And
in the second book,
yes, in the second book, Damaged But Doable, it's more of a woe was me. Here I am. I'm breaking the cycles, and I'm really holding myself more accountable too. Like, once you turn 18, like, you're an adult. You don't sit there and stay stuck saying, well, I was a kid, I didn't know any better. No, like, there's therapy. You don't turn to drugs. If you're depressed, go talk to a counselor, talk to friends, make it public. If my family was still active in my life, I could have talked to them more, but I knew where that went in the past. So my friends are my family, and I've had a great experience with that.
I want to get to the one thing that we didn't really cover in the initial interview that, again, I deleted. God, I feel fucking terrible about it too. But that being said, we didn't really focus so much on the actual occurrence. And I didn't know how comfortable with the occurrence you were, or talking about it.
Yeah, we didn't go into as much detail the first time, but it wasn't. I think it was just the way the conversation naturally happened. Like, there was nothing that you guys pried or poked at, and it wasn't like I was holding back on it.
I just wonder, okay, so and not to dwell on the actual occurrence that day, but did it happen multiple times? This guy's
No, I'm fortunate where this was like college basketball. It was like one and done, thank God. But I always wondered if I was the only person. And there was a girl that I went to middle school with in Lombard who had shared not necessarily the same experience, but she had her doubts, and her mom was a school nurse. And looking back, I'm like, I should have taken that opportunity to say something then.
Has anything happened to this guy?
No.
How is that okay? How is that right? You know what I mean?
Right. And there's times, especially this time of year, because it happened during the summer, as we're approaching August, it's not, it sucks having your birthday be the anniversary of when you were molested as a kid. And that's something I've battled every year. This year, I'm a lot better than where I was last year. Last year, I wasn't drinking. So the alcohol, I know, was suppressing a lot of the memories. So I remembered more of what was going on. The flashbacks were more surreal. I mean, they were borderline crippling. I could be at kickball, going to the bathroom, being in front of a mirror, and it reminded me of the position I was at when the events were going on. And I'm just traumatized. And it's I got to now go play outfield. And everyone's wondering what's going on. And it's just you don't want to bring attention to it. But I mean,
do you think the book's helping you this year?
The book saved my life. Damaged But Doable saved my life. Unfortunately, in October last year, everything that was going on in my life between, my childhood and I was overcoming my eating disorder that relapsed. I survived a terrible bout of narcissistic abuse. I went through 2 different jobs in just as many years that I thought were lifelong jobs. And I saw how much I was letting happen to me that I wasn't taking control of. And the biggest part about the abuse that I allowed happen was it all resulted in me trying to make other people happy. and I wasn't making myself happy.
And you took on several like auxiliary, like you had just mentioned, like the narcissistic. How did you word it?
Narcissistic abuse. Yes.
So like you had all these other instances of like essentially abuse that were going on after everything was said and done, and you cover a lot of that in this book, right?
Absolutely. Like I go in detail about each, because abuse happens emotionally, spiritually, financially. It doesn't have to be someone putting a hand on you.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the title says it all, damaged but doable. Like, I think before this book, you were thinking of yourself as damaged goods and you only deserved so much. And then, like, this book is like the process of you realizing that, like, you deserve more.
Absolutely. There's a movie called The Perks of Being a Wallflower. One of the biggest quotes that's from that movie is, the main character is asking the teacher, like, it's about, like, what type of love do you deserve? And, like, that kind of hits hard on me where it's like, we settle for the love that we think we deserve. We're sometimes looking for it in the wrong places, and it's just being able to just find it in yourself. And I mean, it's been a struggle for years.
How important is it? I know that you know this, but like a lot of people don't realize, like, how important is it that you can just like sit in a room and just love yourself? You know what I mean? Like, how important is that? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm so critical. Like I my own worst abuser. Like, I know everybody's like their own worst critic, but like if I'm doing that to myself, it almost lets other people do the same.
Makes it okay.
Yeah, it makes it okay. And like, oh, he's a weak-minded person, and it's just like, I don't want to be labeled like that. But I allowed myself to do that from not taking the essentials that I needed to do. And now, I'm in therapy. I'm open about it. Shout out to Jessica, amazing therapist down there at the Wellborn Clinic. I love the fact that I took writing into it and journaling. I reached out to multiple different professionals in the industry about abuse and trauma and childhood trauma, even narcissistic abuse. The only bout of physical abuse that I really went through was my first. I'm an openly bisexual male, but my first boyfriend put hands on me. And it's hard to identify that it was domestic abuse because when we were together, he wasn't abusive then. It was when we were taking our breaks. Like, it was one of those, like, I don't want you with someone else. And we did the long distance thing. I was in Tampa. They were in Memphis. That's where we met, was Memphis. And it was one of those, he didn't come over. You have to break your own cycles of abuse. And if you take on someone else's trauma, it becomes your own life. And you don't even tend to your own needs.
Can we pump the brakes again on fucking Memphis?
I love Memphis. I know y'all here in Evansville love Nashville better, but shout out to the 901 is greater than 812.
I was only going to say that is the diciest city that you can visit. If you like...
Oh, no, DC. That's why they renamed the basketball team from the Bullets to the Wizards. Like, you need a miracle to make it there.
No, but dude, a buddy of mine, actually a DJ friend of ours who's been on the show, I was talking to him one day. He was like, yeah, me and the kids and the wife, we went down to Memphis. And it was like the day they got there, they got robbed. Like day one. And it was down on the main...
Beale Street.
Beale Street. The main...
There's a rule of thumb. Like, if you're on Beale Street and you cannot see St. Jude's Children's Hospital in your skylight, you're in the wrong place.
It's a dicey spot, dude. I don't know how much you know about Memphis, but it's dicey.
I love it. I think they're some of the friendliest people. I don't crave barbecue, but when I do, shout out on 2nd Street, Rendezvous, amazing. I love the basketball. So Grizzlies, other than last year, they've been good for a while.
You've been to a lot of cities too.
I love traveling.
Is there a favorite city in the U.S. you've been to that you really enjoy? Like, I should live there. You know what I mean? Like,
Memphis is easily my top 3.
Really? What are the other 2?
Chicago. I mean, you're always loyal to your first. That's where I was born. And then I toss up. I mean, I go both ways. So it's either New York or L.A.
Nice, dude. I see what you did there.
Fucking
Tom is just fucking
the wordage is fun.
I'm fucking wordplay.
I'm bisexual and bi-coastal.
I was gonna say,
still Leo.
Before Brian paused, you mentioned an eating disorder. Do you think that was from a coping mechanism?
Absolutely. I was overweight, and a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, you weren't fat, you weren't thick." And it definitely affected my self-worth.
You're a tall fella. Let's talk numbers. I'm a numbers guy.
I didn't have my growth.
How big were you? I'm just curious.
I was...
What was the heaviest you weighed? Because you're about 6 foot.
I was a fat gymnast. Like when the coach told me to tuck my chin, I would say which one. So I mean, there was that. Thank you, being polite. Damn, but like, it's like, and here's the thing: like, everybody copes with their trauma differently. I like making jokes about it because if I can laugh about it, it lets me know that I'm on the right path. I'm recovering. I'm not silenced about it. I'm not bottling it in, and I get a thrill of making people laugh, and it's natural. Like I just pop one out.
You should do stand up.
I get tired, so I sit down.
You do sit down.
Then I'd be like Nader in the wheelchair. Stand for nothing, joke for everything.
Not taking a knee for nothing, dude.
But I was going to say, since like overcoming that battle, you would say that like better coping mechanisms came into play.
Yes. So my eating disorder really started in middle school, and it was a coping mechanism with everything. I had the only bedroom downstairs where we lived at in Lombard. So my parents and my brothers and my sister were all upstairs. So it gave me that avenue to have that privacy, that seclusion. And it was the best, worst thing for me. So just
explain that. I
didn't have, like, if I was crying, I'd be by myself. I was a sad middle schooler, like just sad. When I was at school, I was happy because I wasn't at home. I wasn't, around other abuse that was going on.
So home was abusive.
Yes. I mean, like, I'm not saying that my dad threw me down the stairs, but there was definitely.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Just out of curiosity, like, what was the main driving force of you just like, I gotta get the fuck out of the house? You know what I mean? Like, what was the biggest thing that you were just so fucking tired of?
It was the amount of, like, my dad was the worst abuser by far. My mom would step up to it, but it was also one of those, she knew what was going on. So she'd only threaten to call the cops, but not follow through with it.
He's laying hands on you?
On all of us, but mainly me. Like,
and just like belittling conversation.
The verbal abuse was by far the worst. Like, I mean, the physical abuse was easily maybe twice a semester, if even
Well,
that.
it's weird too for like physical abuse. You can almost zone out in like a weird way, but like words low key stick. Like,
absolutely.
You may try to tune it out, but in the back of your head, it's becoming part of your subliminal conversation with yourself. I feel like
I believed a lot of the words. Like, my dad would sit there and say, like, you're ugly, you're out of shape, you're stupid, and like, you believe it, and then you want to do everything you can, wanting your parents' affection and support. You do everything you can to do the opposite. Like, you think I'm dumb? I'm gonna, my first girlfriend was probably Merriam-Webster. Like, I read the dictionary and thesaurus just because I didn't want to be dumb.
Dude, gross.
brother.
He looked the other way.
Hey, brother.
We're post-pandemic.
Are you what you would call a wordsmith?
Yes. Words are a form of expression. Like, I'm not always the best at speaking about something right away, and I let it dwindle, and it's like I have to compartmentalize. That's probably the first time I've used that word, by the way, without butchering it. So
compartmentalize?
Yeah, I butcher that word all the time.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites, though.
Too many syllables.
Yeah.
But anyways, it helps me be able to articulate what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. Because if I can say it out loud, I know it's real. And that's how I think a lot of victims and survivors identify with what they went through is if I can share it and I can speak it, it helps me get to the next stage. Because otherwise you're in that denial stage, and if you just hold it in, all you're doing is just setting yourself up for failure or some kind of collapse, like an eating disorder or suicide attempt. And there were many in my childhood.
And one thing that you and I have agreed upon, I have a bit of trauma that I dealt with for sure. Tom knows, because we hung out for a bit.
Yes. You didn't delete that part of the conversation. Too soon.
No, I did. I deleted the whole thing. God damn it, Scott.
You didn't record the other ones. You did not identify that you recorded that part.
No, but like the way that I kind of got through mine was I was drinking way too much the first year or two, probably, because you're numbing it. And then it was exactly like you're explaining, verbalizing it and just saying it out loud is half the fucking battle.
Yes.
Like getting it out in front of you and just, here's what happened. And you just say it and you just sit with it. And then you do that with another person and you just put it out there and you sit with it. And
then you
both
start
sit
making
with it.
jokes like boredom bros.
Yeah. And then you start belittling it. So now maybe you do that on your own. And then you start belittling it with other people. And I feel like there's these stages of like coping with these really, really traumatic things that happen to all humans across all fronts. Like trauma is not a one size thing. It's
No,
not only
not at all.
rape. It's not only PTSD. You know what I mean? It's so many different things. You got into a really bad car accident, whatever. Trauma is trauma. But that being said, I wanted to make that point where when you said maybe I pulled the trigger too soon on the first book. I don't think you did. I think that was like a stage of like, now I'm getting it out there. This is the first time I'm putting it out. It's like
it's a step in the right direction. In no way, shape, or form do I think either book, especially Day Must Be Doable, is a blueprint for everybody, but it was my map and how I navigated through it.
I just wanted to make sure you knew that. Like, I don't think you pulled the trigger too soon. I think you were trying to, evolve this healing that you're going through, and everybody does it their own way, however fast or however slow.
So, did you start writing for Fansided before the second book?
Yes.
So what was that process like of getting into Fansided? We got an article on page that you actually wrote
just recently.
Yes, this one is for the LA Galaxy, one of my favorite soccer teams. I'm a diehard David Beckham fan. I was even him for Halloween twice.
Nice.
Bend him.
Nice.
I actually lied. I've been him like 10 times for Halloween. When you spend $300 on the uniform, let's be real.
Yeah, dude. I got the fucking shin guard.
So what was it like getting to write for, like, I mean, you love sports, so what's it like getting to write for something sports related and something that
It's, for me personally, it's such a confidence booster. Like, I love the fact. So the first one I ever did for Fansided was Niner Noise. Still write for them. I'm going to be entering my third season, second full one. So, and I'm not even a 49ers fan. I have become one writing for them. And yes, biasly, they're good. It's like, no one wants to write for a losing team.
I mean, okay. And we talked about this last time too, and Tom probably checked out as well.
One might say they're pretty good.
Well, Purdy is fucking dog water.
Okay, but that is sparkling water because he's definitely got them to 2 NFC championships in a row.
He's the smartest kid with fucking downs at this point. You know what I'm saying? He
has touchdowns.
Dude, he has an outstanding cast around him. Look at the people around him. These are like freaks.
I'm not saying that Brock Purdy's the Meryl Streep of the NFL, but like anybody who has a talented cast around them is probably going to get an Oscar nomination.
What do you think about Tua? I got it, and then we're done with football. But I got to know. What do you think about Tua Tagovailoa? Similar situation. Not like an all-star. He's not Meryl Streep, but he's got some big players.
I never thought about it that way, so I like what you did there. Like, yeah, there's ample comparisons.
Not in stature, obviously.
The Dolphins finally had a decent run game last year, whereas they weren't known as a well-balanced team.
Yeah.
They were very pass-orientated.
And to have Mike McDaniels, the running guy, as your lead man, like, and you don't have a strong run game, like,
right? The dichotomy is rich there.
I know.
As a Patriots fan, I'm like, thank God the Dolphins always choke. Like, I think they actually now.
Fucking dude, we haven't won a Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right, you are a Dolphins fan.
We haven't fucking.
So you heard the news what they're doing with season tickets. Because you guys choke so much, they're now including CPR lessons with it.
Or
God
like,
damn you piece of shit.
Did the Dolphins, did they only use paper straws in their stadium?
For the Dolphins.
I would, if I was their franchise leader.
Fuck them sea turtles, bro. No, I
did you do that on purpose?
It's a bummer. It's a bummer when you think about it. I was thinking about it the other day. I sent a Snapchat to all my friends, and I was like, I may have sent it to you, and I was like, the moment when you realize that.
No, I'm still pending.
The Dolphins haven't. What? Oh, my phone's recording. I'll have to add you. But
Segue.
dude, fucking, I sent a snap to everybody that says the Dolphins haven't. When you realize the Dolphins haven't won a Super Bowl since Nixon was president.
I mean, it could be worse. Cowboy season's usually over by like Labor Day weekend or like October 10th.
You're not wrong, dude. All right, off of the sports ball because Tom fucking hates it.
I would say the upside to the sports article writing is it's almost like a workout. I feel like writing is like it's a muscle, and if you don't use it, it fades.
Yes.
And so like doing this weekly, monthly, whatever drops. I mean, you're writing for 3 different pages right now.
Yes.
So like that's got to be like a workout for like your next book or whatever, what comes next.
I mean, I'm done writing about myself. The next book would be a novel or maybe something sports history related. I mean, Damage Be Doable is 106,000 words.
You're going to go fiction?
I would. So I've had this recurring dream when I was in college. And the novel is where I was in this movie, and I'm the character, the youngest brother in a family of 4. My character dies of cancer.
Sick.
Ball State was a party school. Let's just leave it there. But I had some weird dreams when I was in my 5.5 years of college, and I journaled about that, and I turned it into like 20 pages of a manuscript, shared it with some of my friends, and they're like, "This is really good." And I've tabled it ever since. And now that I got Damaged but Doable out, it's kind of like I'm ready for the next one. Like when you love something, you do it nonstop.
You know what I would do if I was writing something, though?
What?
I'm just thinking about this. You ever watch like a Tarantino film?
Oh,
Big
a
Tarantino
bunch
guy?
of yes. My mom actually had the hots for Quentin Tarantino.
He's low-key pretty fucking ugly.
Well, I mean, she's consistent. Here, revenge on my dad. She's consistent.
Okay, sick, dude. No, but if I were to write a novel, or it would be a fiction for sure. And I love what Tarantino does with history, where he'll take a story and make it as believable and as true. Like Inglourious Basterds is the one that sticks out, but it's like literally about like schwacking these Jews and stuff as Nazi folks, and it's this horrible fucking mess, and they're hunting all these guys down, and then you got this evil guy, and then you got these Inglourious Basterds that are hunting down the guys that are hunting down the fucking Jewish people, and it's a very spot on, based on a true group of guys. I don't know if you knew that or not, the actual Inglourious Basterds. And then at the very end of the movie, he fucking schwacks Hitler. You know what I mean? It's like it's such a. I love the history, the fiction history, where it's like I tell the story 90% true, and then I make it what I want it to be. Do you know Philip K. Dick? Is it Philip K. Dick, the author? Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
He's the guy who wrote the book Man in the High Castle.
Okay.
Are you familiar? It's a TV show on Amazon as well. Phenomenal novel, really good TV show. Long story short, it's fiction history where. The whole story is, what if the Germans would have won and the Axis powers would have won?
Okay, I know there's something out there on that material, but I never knew what the
take
titles
over
were.
the entire United States, and Germany gets like 3/4 of the United States, and then the Japanese get like basically the Pacific coast. And it's this whole story of like, I fucking love that shit. I would do something like that for sure. Like rewrite history in the way that you would want it to be written, or however you want to like playfully imagine it in your head.
I mean, my nationality is heavy German. Like my dad's side of the family, all German. Mom's side of the family,
young Adolf over here.
Oh,
That's what he calls me. He can say Jew, but anytime I say it, it gets bleeped automatically.
Because how you say it, bro.
So true story. I've legally changed my last name. So I was not born Conrad. My last name was Sieg. And that's exactly what Hitler said. Sieg Heil. Yes. I know, right? Like that's the kind of last name that puts the shits in Auschwitz. Like there's no way you could keep that if you're trying to be a professional writer. God. So Scott Conrad, and I was like, oh, I don't want Thomas, which was your first name's Thomas. My middle name was Thomas, and my dad's first name was Thomas. So I was like, I don't want to keep that either. So I came up with Garen because I was like, and then when I realized I have a second cousin with that first name, it's like, we're going to add an R. So there's now 2 R's in Garen. So I legally got that changed in 2000 and, God, it was about 4 years ago.
How hard is that, legally changing your name?
For $157 with the courts and getting it written in the paper, it's doable.
Was that therapeutic for you in your process as well?
Yes. Like it was funny. Like I remember taking a selfie at the BMV when I got everything done over, and like I felt like that experience of like, oh, I'm 16 years old, I got my driver's license. Like it definitely felt like I can move forward and just not look back at things that were traumatic for me then. I have more confidence knowing that like I'm established my own name. I'm my own person. My family has done great things for me. So I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, it was all terrible. But emotionally, there was no support there.
This is going to sound dumb. Did you feel like a butterfly? Like you almost like you left a person behind, like you left a shell behind, and now you're like a butterfly.
I felt more like Beyonce. I was like, I left Destiny's Child, and here I am.
Ugh.
I was going to say,
Beyonce's my girl.
Both your books are self-published?
Yes. The first one from Ankle Deep was with Author House, and they're based out of Bloomington, Indiana.
Oh, sick,
they're the same company that did Carl Reiner's memoir, great late comedian. And then I switched gears. Not that I had a bad experience with Author House. In fact, I actually wish I stuck with them. It honestly comes down to when you're self-publishing, you have to think smart budget-wise. Like, what are you willing to put up front?
Yeah.
So anybody that's out there that's a writer, you definitely, you get to your manuscript and you get to your marketing plan and you reach out to different contacts about, oh, you're a self-publishing company. What do you offer? The royalties were terrible with Author House. With some of the other companies, they don't take a percentage out of your royalties. So if you can find something that's 75% to 100% of royalties, and they only take out what you have in your distribution deal with Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or any of the online vendors, that's the route to go.
Do you have to buy X amount of books like right off the bat?
No, the only books I bought off the bat myself for this second book, Damage But Doable, was it was 2 copies just so I had them on hand, one of which is with me at all times.
And you actually mentioned in the previous episode that there's some copies out there that are like one of ones.
Oh my gosh, yes. So what happened was when it was first released on April 29th, they had the spine done in a way that
we did talk about. I do remember
Yes.
this now. Yeah.
I know, it's like spine gate.
Spina bifida gate. I don't know.
There is bifida there because I wanted it to say Damage But Doable and just the last name Conrad on it.
Yeah. On the spine.
Yes, and I feel like they profiled me because it says the word "by" before Conrad, and it's like,
Bitch.
Did they spell it right?
B-Y, like it's so rude.
You saucy bitches.
Now, for example, one of my friends from like a trivia group that I have, my friend Heather, she bought one on the first day, and when they took it down on Amazon to adjust, anytime you adjust like the profile or the book overview or any of the layout on what they post from the self-publisher, it doesn't go back up online for another 3 days. So as I'm doing the TV interviews the next week or two, I'm like, is my book even going to be live again? Like, I'm going to plug my book, and it's like, I hope it launched. So luckily within 2 hours, it was back up live because it took that long to update. Everybody else's copies had nothing on the spine.
That's crazy.
I'm like, that's shady. Like,
speaking of like what it takes to like the initial part of writing a book, which is interesting. There's a lot of folks out there that have really great stories, and I have a couple of friends that I'm like, dude, you should need to write a fucking book.
oh, absolutely. I'm encouraging. If you have that even like glimmer of a like idea of writing,
Yes.
do it.
Fucking do it.
Do it.
Half the battle is just sitting down and making yourself write. But my question is, self-publishing. How much of your material did you have to have ready? I mean, did you have to have the whole book written before you went to
I prefer to do it that way.
Author House, or did you have
But
to
you
have
don't have
like
to.
150 pages? Like, what did Frank say? Frank Bill from Corden, Indiana said in
A New York Times
believe
bestseller.
He said he had the first 100 pages done before he went, but then he said, after 100 pages, they're trying to stay in touch. Like, hey, how much longer? Every few weeks, even though you may have a 6-month timeline, it's like every 2 weeks they're like, hey, how much more do you have?
I mean, the industry sales, like they're like
the mafia, dude.
Oh yeah, they're like,
You got my money?
you got that like used car salesman, like or like a gym membership sale. So like you go there, you're interested, you don't follow through in 2 weeks. Oh, they'll still get at you in 5 days.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? Where's the updates? And it's like, I just talked to you.
Hey, eat shit. I'm writing now.
So
and
like,
writers aren't always good at deadlines.
They are or are not.
Typically, writers are not always good at deadlines.
It's a creative thing, dude.
Exactly.
It's like a painter. You can't.
I'm German, not Russian. Like, I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, Russian. So I was gonna say though, as like the self-publishing aspect, you don't have like a marketing team behind you. So like you were a part of piecing together this title, like the
Yes.
page that's on screen and like the back of the book.
They did the cover design. It was part of the package
Who's
with
they?
Epic Book Group. They're based out of Wyoming. They took. I gave them the idea. I said, I want this championship cup since I love sports, and I want to feel like a winner. But there's a crack in the foundation, so that we captured that in the cover. I wanted to go yellow, a brighter color. With the first book, I did like a teal. Like I like specific colors, so it pops. It stands out from something that's on the shelf.
No,
So
for sure.
And then I originally wanted to call the book No Hard Feelings because I was like, journaling. And the first night after therapy, I watched
But somebody had just cut a book.
No
Hard Feelings. It was a film or something.
It was a film. And actually, I watched that film with Jennifer Lawrence the night of. And that's where I got the idea. And as I went through therapy and I did the journaling and I started writing, I was no longer sold on No Hard Feelings. Because I thought it was like the cutesy way of being like, I have no hard feelings against my abusers. And I thought, you know what? To hell with that. They don't
fuck them.
You don't have to. It's up to you if you want to forgive them.
Yeah.
Forgiveness gets, you off the hook, not them. So there's other ways to navigate around that. And I thought, damage but doable. I love the alliteration. D, there's 2 Ds and a B. It looks like half my transcript from college. So it's fitting. And then I didn't even come up with the subtitle until probably 2 weeks before I sent the manuscript off. And I like the way I'm wording it, how I'm breaking the cycles of abuse. I'm not, I haven't broke them all. This is where I'm at, and I'm leaps and bounds further away than what I was 8 months ago or 8 years ago. So it's just nice to look back. It's almost like my own mental and emotional scrapbook.
And in the book, you have screenshots or like in book photos. Is that like weight off your shoulders
it's
as well?
It's a great tool. One, I didn't expect any of the pictures or screenshots or anything to be in color. So that's kudos to Epic Book Group. In the words of Whitney Houston, show me the receipts. So if you're going to speak up about the abuse and you're going to out abusers, now I redact names from there because, I can try to get sued. But then again, when you tell the truth, there defaults the defamation. I wanted people to know that, yes, there's abuse out there. This happened. It's not just a he said, she said, whether it goes from what happened in my childhood to the first boyfriend putting hands on me. One of the hardest things about that situation is there's this picture that I had taken, and I had lied to my friends back in Florida because this is where it happened. And when I got to the point that I was lying to my friends, I was like, I'm not a dishonest person. The fact that I'm lying for someone else to like save face, that's what I knew was a problem. And I include the photo. I look like I have my orbital socket was like dang near shattered. Like I'm just bruised. And it looked terrible, but I wanted people to see, like, yes, domestic abuse or physical abuse still happens to men in any kind of relationship. It's not just men putting hands on women, which I think is one of the most disgusting things that anybody could do. So shame on you that you've ever done that before, especially you repeat offenders. But I really struggled with that early on because my first boyfriend put hands. So I was like, okay, I went back to women right away and then kind of took 6 months off. It was just a matter of I want to find love in the right place.
I have a question about that. Domestic disputes. This is intriguing because this has happened to me. I've been clapped by a woman before. Straight up. Open hand punch to the fucking noodle, dude. Just right to the fucking beak. And the altercation ends there, right? But me being a physical, violent, natured person, the only time I've ever been hit in the face is by another dude. And like an altercation ensued at this point. Like that's all the history I have of getting punched in the face is like just by dudes and then an altercation happening. When this woman does it, I'm like taken aback, but my instinct was like stood up.
Equal rights.
Well, my intuition, no, it was like, I'm just a violent person. Like when need be, I will be violent. And like my intuition just before I knew what was happening, I was standing. When I got hit, I was seated. And before I knew what happened, I was clenched up, knees bent in an athletic stance, ready to go. And then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? And then I removed myself from the situation. But it's like, what's weird for me is like, it is gross when a dude hits a woman. 100%.
Yeah, period dot.
But like, what do you do in that situation? I mean, like,
I've only had one female
situation, right?
Hit me before, and it was a misunderstanding. She thought I said something that I didn't say. It was like she heard the wrong thing, so she came at me. Everybody was drinking. It was like a work party, and I got clocked in the nose. And this was post nose job, so I was like, "Oh damn, there goes my investment." And like my reaction was hug her, like not hug her because she needs love. It was she can't swing on you if you're like. I'm not bear hugging her aggressively. It's just you have to be in control of your emotions and your physicality, especially when a guy and a girl, like there's just no reason for it.
There's no huge difference.
There's no equal playing ground.
No,
this
absolutely.
is not a play unless she's a fucking MMA fighter.
And I could vaguely understand a one-off, but recent bookings let like there's people that do it twice in the same year. I'm like, there are better hobbies out there. Like go join a pool league or a bowling.
Buy a punching bag.
Right. Like if you want to hit something, go to the gym.
Get a dog.
Get some drywall.
No. Don't Michael Vick the shit out of that situation. That's a rough way.
Dude, I'm joking.
Yeah. But no, I mean, something like you have to, but those are where you take the leaps and bounds like I've done and you go to therapy, you work it out. Like what drove you to that point? Like, there's just no excuse for it.
Yeah, it's a wild spot and I hate that it happens, but it happens all the fucking time. Women are fucking saucy, dude.
I heard an interesting statistic, kind of ADHD going off here.
Yeah.
Is that the average male speaks about 5,000 words a day, and the average female speaks about 15,000 words a day.
Checks out.
And so, like, guys, when they get home, they've already almost hit that 5,000 limit, and girls haven't. And so, like, they're like, why isn't he talking to me?
I mean, I'm probably hit both those numbers combined in text messages. Like, I'm a texting terrorist. Sorry, friends. But, like, that, like, I can have a voice behind a phone.
Dude, and it's terrorist, and he's
God
texting
damn it.
it out, you know what
Thank
I mean?
you. I appreciate that.
You have been fishing for that fucking joke, dude. He told me about this joke. He told me the other day, he was like, oh, I'm thinking about making a joke about a terrorist, but you tear your wrist, and I hate terrorist, and tying the two together. I was like, how long is it going to take you before somebody makes a comment about their wrist? Well, apparently it's about 3 fucking weeks.
Not bad.
That was 3 weeks ago. He not fucking bad, dude.
I like that.
I fucking hate you, dude. I hate you.
So you say like I say hey, like it's just it's great. I like
Sounds the same, spelt different.
I hate that you just stuck that landing. God damn it, I fucking hate that. Anyways, all right.
I used to actually call it corporal tunnel, by the way. Like I thought, like it's carpal tunnel. I am known for malapropisms. Like as smart as I was as a kid, like I butcher a lot of things.
I butcher everything.
Yeah, but corporal tunnel, it's like hello
That's
arthritis.
hilarious. I was thinking corporate tunnel. So like all the people in corporate offices that have emails and stuff
Well, you
like
just
that.
pissed off the white collar comment.
Fuck them.
Yeah, that's literally me, dude.
They're going to retire in like 65. I'm going to be like 80 before I retire. Unless I make it big.
So what do you got going on? Okay.
Oh, no, so you did the book signing at your brother's bookstore. How was that?
Yeah, how'd that
Yes,
go, dude?
that happened on June 15th. Amazing turnout. Even in the heat, there's a lot of things going on downtown. I love it. Sam and Adam are amazing at your brother's bookstore. If you haven't
those
checked it
dudes.
out, oh,
Love
absolutely.
those dudes.
Yeah, it's right there on Main Street, across from the 501 building downtown.
Was it any different than when you used to do stuff at Barnes & Noble?
I like this. No knock on Barnes & Noble. I know we all know. They even know the same person. Mariana Mudd was great at coordinating all the events. She's since retired and left the company. It was just easier to do something downtown. I don't drive. I don't have a car. I let mine die in 2019. Rest in peace. And I've never been in a hurry to get to it. And I thought anything I can do locally downtown, it's just great. Do everything in your own neighborhood. Why not?
Yeah, no, 100%. What did you used to drive? I'm just curious.
A car.
Like what kind of car?
Oh,
It's like a bicycle.
no, it was a Honda Civic.
Oh, nice. Dude.
I loved that
very basic kind of middle.
That Will Ferrell skit sold me. Like the whole there was a skit with him and Sarah Michelle Gellar and another person, and they're like arguing at a family dinner, and he tries to dominate the conversation. He's like, "I'm the boss of 7 people. I drive a Dodge Stratus," and I was like, "I want a Dodge Stratus." So no shame in my game. I love a Dodge Stratus.
Dude, I'll fuck around. Dude, I made a joke the other day about how all Dodge Neons wind up in ditches. I don't know how or why. We all know somebody that drove a Dodge Neon, and at some point that car was in a ditch.
If someone was in it, I might call it full-bodied.
Explain the fucking physics behind it. I don't know, but I'm working on that joke now currently.
I wanted a Dodge Charger too because I love the Dukes of Hazzard as a kid.
Pretty sweet, yeah. The new ones look really nice too.
The new Dodge Chargers or the new Dukes of Hazzard?
The new Dodge Charger.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, the movie with Johnny Knoxville.
Oh, I saw that one.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's the
with
new.
Jessica Simpson.
That was during the Tony Roma era. She peaked. Great talent.
She was so beautiful. She's still beautiful.
Oh, great.
Yeah, dude. I don't know, dude.
I was gonna say too. So wrapping up on the book, wrapping up the process of getting it out there and doing public events like this. Do you feel like it's being perceived as what you expected it to be?
It's definitely part of the journey. Being able to speak out about it. I'm not gonna it's easier to do interviews. I look forward to doing the interviews, whether they're TV, podcasts, more than sitting at a table because you're not in control of who shows up. So you're never is there going to be 12 people? Is there going to be 22? If you're on the other end of a microphone, or the other end of a TV, you don't necessarily have an idea of how many are watching. So it adds to your nerves. Yeah. And then you start getting in your head there's only going to be 20 people. And then you see that text message, I can't make it, but we're supporting you. I'm glad that I didn't have that noise going on this time.
Was there, did people that get their book signed, did they have questions for you or anything like that? Do you have anything that, any moment that stuck out that somebody mentioned to you?
literally most of the people that came were my friends. There was very few people that were new or strangers. There was this one guy, his name's John, very nice gentleman. He reached out to me. He was like, I don't know if I can get down there in time for, before I get off of work. Said, I live downtown. I'm having people over dinner. I will find you. And he ended up making it down on time. And lo and behold, he ended up being one of the caregivers for a previous company that I worked for. And we got to have a connection and share stories. And again, it's one of those moments, I don't need to talk about me in this moment because one, he's got a copy of my book in the hands. Like, that's stuff done. It was just nice to know that there's other people out there that have went through something similar that I've gone through. And it's that reinforcement of strength in numbers.
Yeah, like the we aspect, dude. Because it really is. You go through something like that. And you
On a serious note, we too should be a movement.
It's like, it's always me, 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 me. When it's happening to you, you're like, fuck me, fuck my life, fuck this, fuck me, 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 my, me, everything me. That's all you're worried about. And you're like, why? You just want to know why. And the real thing we should be focusing on is like the we.
Yes.
Like ours. Collective effort. Like, that's how you beat, if you have people that that have been through similar traumas, the people that are buying this book, like, that's what it's about, dude.
And that's a good like branch off to like advice. Like, what advice would you give to somebody? We'll start softer, of like somebody that wants to be a writer, and then like the next part of the question will be like somebody that's gone through trauma and your advice for them. In
terms of a writer, you have to have an arc to what you're writing about. There has to be a purpose. There has to be something that you take away. You can't just put words on a page. That's the difference between a journal and a book. So if you can bridge that gap and make that transition in your writing, go for it. And if you need help with that, there's definitely resources out there. Most of it's on Google. You just reach out to other published authors, Instagram. You get lucky, and there's people that are very sincere and compassionate, and they want to help you. I probably had close to 36 people, without exaggeration, that are licensed therapists or professionals from not just in the United States, but even like out there in Sydney and London, that have social media, that do their own podcast, or they do their own journal and they post it, or their blog, and you take away their offerings. So if you needed to use that for your book to help you define a purpose, do it. It's not something you're going to do overnight. It sounds incredible to do in 8 months. That's what I did with Damage But Doable. But I went through hours upon hours in multiple days.
And it's 664 pages, correct?
No, 414.
414.
Thank you for that. I definitely added
extra
like
200.
I know. I was like, gosh. And it's a thicker book because there's a lot of professional quotes. So it's not all my words. That would be
imagery too. There's illustrations.
There's the illustrations, the proof.
There's 4 pages cut off the end.
Yeah, that's true. But there's a note section.
Yeah, the credits.
The credits. That's Helen Keller did the credits on that section. It's
we follow her on Instagram.
She follows a lot of people, and I don't think she means to. She's dead. She doesn't do it anymore.
Advice for anybody that's suffered a traumatic experience, and your advice to overcome or to break the cycle of it.
It's okay to say that you can't do it alone. You are more than welcome to, and should be encouraged to go to therapy. When I tried taking my own life back in October, it was like the bottom.
And we're glad you're here today.
Thank you. And I knew that I needed to change everything. And what's funny is my former best friend at the time, a week later, told me to kill myself in a text message. Like, that's the narcissistic abuse that I talked about in the book. And it was the changing point for me. I changed my cycles. I changed my circles, and I incorporated therapy. And I had a lot of friends in multiple circles telling me, you went through a lot. Like, you just try to take your own life. You were friends with somebody on and off for 2 years that told you to go off yourself. That's a lot. It's okay to reach out to a professional. And I was strategic about it. As I mentioned before, I don't have a car. So put yourself in a position where you're finding a professional that's close to home. If you can't take a bus, you can't get there, find one that's walking distance, or let 2 or 3 people know in your life, I'm doing this. If I can't make it to it, would you support giving me a ride? Just so you have that backing. And
it's a lot like going to a gym.
It is.
It's because the way you're describing it, when I have people that want to work out and they're like, well, how do I pick a gym? And I'm like,
same.
Get the fucking one closest to your house.
Absolutely.
Because then you have less of a reason to not fucking be there.
Well, just like a grocery store, like anything that you do that's on a daily or weekly basis
needs to be there.
It needs to be there. I go at least twice a month. I took June off on purpose with therapy just so I can allow myself to breathe. Like after the suicide attempt, I was doubling up on sports leagues and intramurals and just purposely making myself busy so I had an additional reason to live. One of the biggest things for me is I don't like canceling on people. I don't like bailing on anybody. So I
don't like deleting podcast episodes before you edit
too
them.
soon.
But I was gonna say on your point.
What do they say though? Idle hands are the work of the devil. Something like that.
I don't know.
There's a saying.
Deleting podcast is the work of the devil. But I was gonna say a key point from what you said is that like I think a lot of people think that like, oh, I've had this friend group and I need to keep this friend group, and it's not bad to ditch some people that aren't pouring back
Absolutely
into
not.
you.
Like my block list on Facebook is easily over 225 people.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I love that.
Oh
like,
yeah.
and you know, I'm sure I'm on a couple of people's lists. Like it's fine. Like you have to have boundaries. I was never really good at keeping my boundaries. Going into therapy when I started in November, I went about a month after my attempt. I can tell, and my friends can tell, I have boundaries, and that's what makes it safer. And that's what's nice about coming on the winning end of abuse and any kind of downfall or downward spiral is you see what you tolerate is nowhere near what you allowed happen in the past. I don't allow people to. It's one thing if they're friends with similar people and they navigate well, but if it's something that I don't feel comfortable with, I don't trust, you don't owe somebody an explanation why you cut them out of your life. You have to put yourself first. And the last year, I've finally done that. Whereas, 2023 and the years prior, I was a people pleaser. I felt like I was getting gratitude and satisfaction and affirmation from making other people happy, and I was miserable.
Yeah, it as much as it is like a team effort, you know what I mean, as far as like trauma survivors and like looking at it that way, you do also have to, like you just said, put you before everything else in the healing process. Like whatever it is you need, no explanation needed. Fucking go do it. You need to start skydiving. You need to
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Do what you gotta do.
There's a reason why U comes before Y in the alphabet. You put yourself first. The why, you don't necessarily have to tell people why.
Also, by the way, have you ever been skydiving?
No, I have a fear of heights.
Oh, you gotta fucking go.
No, thank you. So speaking of Georgia,
great.
I was at the CNN tower, or like the CNN building, and it's like a 8 to 10 floor escalator. I felt like Will Ferrell and Elf. And like there's this little boy behind me with his family, and he's like, "Mommy, I think he's scared." I remember turning around. I'm like, I was like, "No, I'm petrified." Like I don't do heights.
Scared doesn't do it, little guy.
No, but then when they asked for a volunteer to point to where Denver was on a map, I volunteered before he said yes, and I have a picture. I was like, Denver. And the guy was like, very good. And I looked at the boy. I was like, land level.
Yeah. No, dude, that's great, man.
Before we ask the wrap up question,
for
I
sure.
gotta pee, so we're gonna take a quick timeout.
I knew you were European.
It
really?
hurts. Yeah.
Well, be fast.
Yeah, no German, be Russian.
We're back in a 1 and a 2 and a and then one thing I did want to mention before we do put a bow on this, you mentioned a little bit about the body dysmorphia, and you said something like you were the thickest gymnast.
Yes. So as I mentioned before, like I've always had try to have a sense of humor about things.
Yeah.
And I'm very critical of myself. Like I look at like David Beckham or Ryan Phillippe that are like built like great gods, and I feel like I get it. I don't put as much effort in the gym as they do, and I cheat on my diet. But I've always said like, oh, I've got the chest of a 13-year-old gymnast, and I'm waiting for like the next day or two to find out the results if it's a boy or a girl.
So good.
I love that shit. He said that to me fucking off air. I was like, dude, we gotta fucking.
I appreciate that. It's one of my favorite jokes. It's not borrowed. It's not recycled.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
I grew up watching Richard Pryor and
Fucking
Joan
nice,
Rivers.
dude.
Like I feel like as good as my parents were on some things and weren't, Richard Pryor and Joan Rivers were like the babysitters for me.
Hell yeah.
Scary. That is scary.
But could you imagine those two together? I mean, when they were famous, it was black and white television, so it makes sense.
It does. It checks out.
Old
man.
school.
Old school, baby. On this journey, brother, we like to ask everybody the same question, kind of how we put a bow on things here.
Yeah.
Through this journey, through either book, really, or not even through the books, just through this processing of trauma. And I'm assuming the answer to this question is going to be what it's going to be. But when you had your darkest moment, which we talked briefly about, October last year, what was it that kept you kept you going, kept your foot on the gas? You know what I mean? What made you want to come back?
So my suicide attempt in October was me leaving the former best friend's house, and I called my father figure Ron and was basically saying my goodbye call, and he was able to calm me down, but then I just didn't know how to get out of the situations that I was in. It just felt like I was in a rut, and one that it was just cycle and rinse and repeat. And when it got to the point where I was walking across from Lincoln to 41, I saw a car coming, and that's when I thought that was my best way. And what luckily I did was when I saw that there were other cars behind this truck, I didn't want to ruin it for anyone else. I didn't want to take someone down with me. I didn't want to cause an accident. I didn't want to risk hurting or killing someone else. And luckily, that truck veered. There was no accident caused. I stumbled to the ground, and the next day when we're at kickball playoffs, I have scrapes and cuts on my hips and hands from the moment. When I realized that taking your own life hurts other people, and especially when you do it in a process like that, you have to think about the bigger picture. So knowing that I never want to intentionally hurt somebody by me living my honest and best life, it gave me room for recourse to say, all right, let's regroup. You have to figure something out. You have to change it up, but end game is not the answer.
Yeah. Let's tighten up.
Yeah.
Nice, dude. I respect the fuck out of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're a fucking strange case, brother. You're a bold, strong dude.
One might say I'm queer.
I don't know what the definition of that word actually means.
Peculiar.
Is that what it is?
Strange.
Yeah. Yeah, you could.
I would know. I read a dictionary for 3 years.
You could say you're queer. In that sense, but I'm just saying, man. I envy your, and I understand your plight to a point. I don't understand it fully, but I know trauma can fuck your shit up. And it's always a pleasure to see someone go through some life-shattering shit.
And that's one of the reasons we started the show, was we wanted to sit down and talk with people that had overcome adversity.
Yeah, fuck
absolutely.
Yeah,
and also, Damaged but
so
Doable is pulled up on screen. The link will be in the bio. Check it out.
Buy that shit.
Go to the local bookstore, your brother's bookstore, and pick up a copy there.
You don't have to have survived trauma, dude. It doesn't have to pertain to you. You could know someone. Get this book, dude. Get this book, and seriously, help this word spread around, dude. Because like we talked about, speaking out is the hardest fucking part. And you're doing it for us. You know what I mean? And you're doing it for them. And you're doing it for yourself.
Absolutely.
You're doing it for the team, dude. And you're doing it to inspire
I definitely took one for the team.
Yeah.
And a few teams.
Yeah. And you're doing some good shit, brother. So
thank you.
Very pumped about it. Very pumped about it, dude. Links in the description to get this book. It's everywhere, dude. And Scott, thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Want to spin up that outro, Big Daddy, and we'll put a bow on this night. Do you have a question for us? Any last minute comments, concerns, or you got a question for the Days Grimm? I didn't let you do that last time either.
No, I didn't have one. I appreciate the time, and you guys have been super supportive. So above all, I appreciate you guys for that.
No, appreciate the shit out of you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Damaged but Doable, link in the description. Thank you guys so much. This is another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Grimm.
And this has been Scott. Thank you so much, sir. I greatly appreciate you.
Good night.